Hey everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Norse tournament rosters. We've looked at starting rosters for League for every team available, whether it's the Blood Bowl 2020 rulebook, the Teams of Legend PDF, where the Norse team are from, or the NAF additional teams. Now we're looking at some of the tournament rosters you can take using those teams. So we're going to look at Norse rosters that are 1100 and 1200 TV. Why those two? Because tournaments are kind of going to be 1.1 million the cheapest. Maybe 1.2 million is going to be about average. What that means is you can have a look at some of these rosters as some ideas that you can take and then tweak it up, down 50k depending on your tournament. Also, if you're not planning on playing Norse, this will give you a breakdown of actually what you can face if you're up against a Norse team in a tournament. Anyway, let's move on to Norse tournament rosters. First up, we've got an 1100 mix build. So this is vanilla Norse. This is no stars. This is just the team itself. You get quite a lot for your money in Norse, and at 1100 they start being able to take most of their positionals. Positionals are very expensive and kind of duplicitous in their roles. So this roster, we've gone with 1 Yeti, 2 Ulfwereners, 2 Catchers, 7 Linemen, and 3 rerolls. So what this does is it gets you your one big bruiser. Claws, Disturbing Presence, Frenzy, Loner 4+, Unchanneled Fury. So that's Wild Animal for the Blood Bowl 16 players. So movement strength at both of 5. So this guy does a good job at pretending to be a Minotaur and is actually just as good. So you get 2 Ulfwereners who are your strength 4 pieces as well. So you have 1 strength 5 and 2 strength 4. 2 Catchers gives you 2 movement 7 pieces, and also the great thing about this is these guys already start with block and they've got Dauntless. So you've got a Yeti at strength 5, you've got 2 Ulfs at strength 4, and you've got 2 Catchers with Dauntless. So you get an absolute ton of strength. Now that Dauntless can be useful in circumstances. It gives you like an extra option. Normally they're just going to be your movement 7 ball carriers. 7 linemen round out this roster to 12 players, leaving you with 3 rerolls. So the benefit of this is you get 1 bench player, you get 3 rerolls, you got 40k left to spend on coaches and things like that to win kickoff tables. There is some work you can do to drop an Ulfwerener down into Berserker and then take an extra lineman on top if that's what you want to do. There's a lot of variety here with cash, but at the core of it, this roster here gives you some of the best players in the game. The Yeti is fantastic. The Ulfwereners are brilliant at strength 4. They're great. They've got frenzy, so they can be led astray, but actually, Norse coaches, if you run this team really well, you will absolutely dominate. 2 strength 4 ball carriers / blitzers / safeties, and then 2 movement 7 guys. It actually makes up for the typically average stats of the Norse team. Now, all of these guys having block means that you are going to be able to essentially dominate the combat stat as well. 3 rerolls are going to mean that you can absolutely capitalize on that. And we've got a slight alternative for you here as well. So don't lose your minds. But what we've done with this roster, all we've done here is drop 1 reroll and take a thrower. So the thrower on the Norse team, not particularly useful. You don't want to be using pass, and it is more expensive than a lineman. But in a tournament setting where you can automatically take leader, basically what it does is he gets to become your 3rd reroll and you get an extra person on the bench. So this will give you 13 players and all 3 of those rerolls. It is down to you whether you want to run that. That gives you what, 13 players, 12, 13. So it gives you 13 players and makes that reroll basically into a movement 6, strength 3 block piece. More players are going to give you that advantage, and the thing is with the Norse team, even though they've got block and they've got strength, they've only got armor 8+, so you are going to lose 1 or 2 guys. This roster here allows you to keep those 3 rerolls and have a bit of a bench. It comes at the cost, and that cost that is if your thrower goes down, you do lose the reroll. However, you can quite comfortably play with 2 rerolls on a Norse team because you've got strength and you've got block. And the great thing about tournaments is you get skills as well. So Norse are coming in at tier 1, which means you're not going to get an absolute ton of skills, but there are some really great ones that are just going to make your team more reliable. If you do end up somehow with a double, block on the Yeti is never a bad thing. If you're not going that way, then Brawler is going to make your Yeti more reliable when it's blocking, or Mighty Blow is going to mean that actually while Mighty Blow and Claw doesn't stack the way it used to, it's still going to do a ton of damage. Failing that, you can just go guard with the Yeti and just facilitate your linemen, who are going to be buddied up with him, to make 2-die blocks. That's pretty useful. Ulfweren's strength 4 pieces generally just absolutely shine with block, and the fact these guys have got frenzy means that most of the time they're going to be 2-die blocking twice with block, which makes them pretty awesome. The alternative is you can chuck Mighty Blow on them to try and get additional removal. You've got the Yeti then with Mighty Blow. If you've got one Ulf with Mighty Blow, you've got 2 really good options at removal. Tackle makes them a really good safety. Stand Firm will help save you against that frenzy, but definitely block, Mighty Blow, tackle, depending on what you want this guy to do, is really going to enable them. Catchers are fantastic. They get agility access on normal, which means they are 1 skill away from being movement 7, strength 3 blodgers. Just do it. Take dodge on your catchers straight away, 1 at least. It's going to facilitate movement a little bit. I mean, 3+ with a reroll isn't bad. It is going to fail, trust me. Anybody with 3+ sure hands will prove to you that picking up the ball with a reroll doesn't mean anything. But what it does do is it means that your movement 7 ball carrier is then blocking and dodging, which makes him incredibly difficult to drop. So it's going to be added protection for that. The thrower here, you are going to have to spend one of your skills on leader, but when your entire roster here has block as well, you're really, really well set. And I'm just going to stress this, guys. This is at 1070. So this is at a really low TV for tournaments. And when you add more cash, you just add more bash. So we've got the 1200 mix here. And this roster's coming in with the Yeti. With both Ulfwereners, both Berserkers, both Catchers, 5 linemen and 4 rerolls. So total players, this is at 12. You've got 4 rerolls, so you've got some flexibility here as well. Because you've got 12 players, you can drop a player and take an apothecary. You don't even need to take your berserkers. This does come in exactly at 1200, so you can't quite drop a berserker and take 2 positionals. Like a 2 linemen or anything. You can drop an Ulfwerener and take an apothecary and a lineman, but you really don't want to be doing that, I don't think. You can drop the Yeti, but quite frankly, you're just playing the wrong team if you're doing that. That's not fair. There are a lot of players that will actually enjoy the 2 Ulfwereners and a whole ton of block, but the Yeti is just such a good opportunity at removal. So this roster, you end up with the Yeti and the 2 strength 4 frenzy pieces. You've got 2 berserkers who are also strength 3 frenzy blockers. So you've got the Ulfs with the strength, and you've got the berserkers with the block. You can actually counterbalance that by having the block on the Ulfwereners, like I said earlier. That's going to make them really awesome. You don't really need to take the berserkers. It's up to you whether you do it or not. Skills wise, they've got frenzy and jump up, so the advantage there is that they get up and block for free. So you can make a block, generally speaking, on a 2+ from prone, and they are going to get down sometimes because they got frenzy. They may just rumble into trouble. You kind of get a little bit of flexibility with them. 180k though for 2 of them means you can drop both and take 2 linemen and an apothecary, or 2 linemen and a reroll. You can trade those guys in for things that are going to make the rest of your team better. Maybe, I don't think 1 berserker is going to unlock anything, but if you drop both of them, then you can actually net more stuff for the rest of your team. Again, it will be up to you to choose. Catchers, 2 of them. Ulfwereners, 2 of them. Yeti, 1 of them. 5 linemen, 4 rerolls. This is an absolute powerhouse of a roster. Now it's time to look at some stars that Norse can take. So Norse have access to the Lustrian Super League, which I think is basically the Zote, and Old World Classic, which covers a whole ton of other players. So Lustrian Super League has Karla, has Zug, and has the Zote, I think, but they're also Old World Classic as well. So what we're going to look at now is the Karla von Kill roster that comes in at 1100. So with this roster, you get Karla von Kill, 1 Yeti, 2 Ulfwereners, 7 linemen, and a thrower. The thrower is there for leader, so that you can take that extra cash. So this is 1100. You've got the Yeti, you've got two Ulfs, and if you're taking Karla von Kill, she gives you an extra strength 4 piece, movement 6, strength 4, agility 3+, block, dauntless, dodge, jump up, and loner 4+. So she gives you an absolute ton. with that in mind, with 1 strength 5 and 3 strength 4, what you can do is drop an Ulf and take a catcher instead. Bearing in mind you've got 2 strength 4 pieces still, one with Karla, one with the Ulfwerener. You've got that catcher then who can have that movement 7 and also a little bit more reliability because he doesn't have frenzy, which is just going to allow you to have a little bit more control. Generally speaking, if you've got 3 frenzy pieces on an entire team, you will be fine to plan it out, especially because those guys are generally here strong enough to look after themselves. But it's really great that you get a bit of flexibility there to take either the strength 4 frenzy piece or the movement 7 probably blodge piece at that. And that's kind of, if you've got 1 Ulf, you've got 1 catcher, you've got Karla who sits in the middle at strength 4 and a blodger, so it gives you kind of 3 solid angles of attack, and is backed up by a Yeti and a whole ton of blocking humans. So 1100, being able to take Karla, actually gives you this weird hybrid Ulf catcher, which is just going to make this roster far more potent. And then when you drop it up to 1200, you can fit Zug in. So 1 Yeti, 2 Ulfwereners, 1 catcher, 1 thrower, again to take leader to free up that 70k, and 7 linemen. So that gives you 12 plus Zug. Now the beautiful thing about this roster is you get 1 strength 5 player in the Yeti and you get another strength 5 player with Zug. Now this roster is tier 1 like we said, so the chance of you being able to spend a double to get block on the Yeti is probably a little bit slim, but you get it with Zug, who is going to be your strength 5 mighty blow block piece lined up with your strength 5 claws frenzy piece with the Yeti. That's 2 big guys, and the only thing you really have to drop is a catcher. Now, if you're happy with 2 strength 5 pieces, you may not want both strength 4 pieces, in which case you can upgrade an Ulfwerener to your second catcher. You've got Zug. Zug is going to be an absolute bruiser. Zug and Yeti working on the line is going to be a serious problem for your opponent. Now 1200 is where you kind of get some of the really spicy star players sneaking in there, but quite frankly a Yeti, Zug, some Ulfwereners and an entire team of wicked Norsemen, you're going to be able to brawl with the best teams here. And it has to be done. We are going to look at the Grack and Norseberry roster here. So Grack and Crumbleberry can be taken by the Norse team and is going to give you that, I was going to say throw teammate, but technically kick teammate option. So at 1200 the Grack and Crumbleberry build comes in at 1180. You get the Yeti, you get 2 Ulfs or the cat. Okay, you get 3 of your choice from Ulfwereners and catchers, basically. 2 Ulfs, 1 catcher, probably going to be the right way round. 1 thrower again for leader, 6 linemen, 2 rerolls. So that thrower is only there to be a leader caddy and just a backup lineman for an absolute bargain of what, 20k? 20k for a 60k reroll essentially. All you got to do is keep him alive. On top of that, now this is the bit where I normally gush about Grack and Crumbleberry. You know this, Ross. You know this by now. Grack is a ogre. He's an ogre punter. He blocks things with strength 5. Doesn't have block, but does have mighty blow. So he's got Bonehead, so you're going to have to roll that. And he's got loner 4+, which means if it goes wrong, he is done in. But actually, it's still a really great piece. I mean, everybody loves an ogre. On top of that, you get a halfling who comes with sure hands. So this roster takes you up to what, 14 players? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 players. Yes, one of them's a halfling, but it does come with sure hands. So when you're on offense, using that halfling in the backfield to collect the ball using the integral rerolls, alright, it's only movement 5, but that's still going to speed up. Then you can hand off to the Ulfwereners, hand off to the catcher, who aggravatingly doesn't have catch. What can you do? It just gives you that extra bit of skill. Now, you can not use him. You can just use him as a fowler. But most importantly of all, you can use him as a kick teammate option. You don't need it. You shouldn't need it. But there are going to be times when you're running Norse where actually you're behind on the 2-1 grind. You haven't managed to put it off. You need that touchdown. Your opponent has scored on turn 7 and you've got 1 turn to score a touchdown. Normally, all you do at that point in the tournament is just go massive on blocks to try and score extra points for casualties. And now you've got an option here at the stretch play, at the score, and that just ups the team. Now, if you don't want to do the kick teammate option, all it does is give you a second big guy. So you've got Norse here with 2 strength 5 players, with 2 strength 4 players, and a team of very capable block linemen. This roster gives you literally everything except decent agility. And agility 3 really isn't bad. So 1180 for a 2 big guy build with a kick teammate option and a whole bunch of strength and block. This is a really strong roster. So that wraps it up for Norse tournament rosters. Norse are looking really good in this edition. They didn't change much. They were tier 1 and they were really strong in Blood Bowl 2016. You probably would have seen far more teams if Games Workshop released the actual team itself. So when GW does release Norse, look for these guys to be a really solid and very popular tier 1 choice. The Yeti is awesome, but the Ulfwereners are just the unsung heroes of Blood Bowl. Strength 4, Movement 6, Frenzy means that they are really, really good, whether they're blocking or defending. These guys are absolute powerhouses, and they come with agility 4+, which is just fine. They kind of sit in the same category as bull centaurs of medium speed, medium strength, and that is really good. The catchers, again, go under the radar as being weird, but they're actually just movement 7 blodgers in tournament settings, and that again is massive when the rest of your roster has block. Vulnerability of Norse is their armor, but you've got an absolute ton of skill and strength to pull it off. So look for Norse to be an absolute powerhouse in 2020. And come on, Games Workshop, let's have a shiny new team, please. I'm going to wrap this video up now here, guys. Thanks ever so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think of the Norse rosters, what star you think I've missed, and which roster is your favourite, because I am looking for Norse to be a powerhouse in 2021.